I love glass. I love the way it moves, the way it inspires, how it fascinates me. I love how everyone who watches glassblowing is instantly mesmerized. I love the beauty and the dance the glassblowers do while creating each piece. I love the fire, the heat, the passion. I love the history, the masters. I love how difficult it is to conquer the techniques. I love the sound of the furnace roaring, the torches blasting. I love how sexy glassblowing is. I love orchestrating my team to create my vision. I love being a glassblower. The first time I saw glassblowing was at Massachusetts College of Art. I was walking around the campus one night and opened the door to one of the studios. What I saw changed my life. All the lights were out, the furnace was glowing. The silhouette of a tall, slender woman rolling a big blob of molten material on a metal table took my breath away. She was blowing glass. I'd never seen it before, but knew instantly that I had to try it. So I signed up for my first glassblowing class. I remember the first time I stuck my stick in the furnace, my arm was on fire. I loved it. Glassblowing is one of the hardest things I've ever done, except for maybe this TED Talk. But I knew I could be good at it. I had to be good at it. I wanted to be one of the best, if not the best glassblower in the world. So I set my sights high, and I applied for a class with Lino Tagliapietra. He's considered the greatest glassblower in the world. I tried 3 times to get into his class. On the 3rd time, I finally got in. I remember the first time I saw Lino blow glass. I knew immediately that I wanted to learn from him. He was glass, passionate and fluid, like a magician. You could see his love and respect for the material in just one moment. One day during the class, I got up all my nerve. I was really intimidated by him, and I said, "Lino, I want to be a great glassblower. Where should I go? What should I do?" He looked at me and said, "Okay," and then he walked away. I was defeated. But then he came back an hour later, and he said, "Nancy, you should move to Seattle and work at a factory that I go to make my work 2 or 3 times a year. I'll get you a job." I was stunned, and I actually didn't believe him. And then the next day he came back and he said, "You have the job. All you have to do is move to Seattle." So I packed up all my belongings in my parents' Cadillac Eldorado and drove cross country, leaving my friends and family to start my new life as a glassblower. When I got to Seattle, I didn't know a soul, but I had a job. I started working at Manifesto. It's a factory that specializes in hand-blown lighting. I thought it was a pretty big deal, as I had been hand-selected by Lino. But I soon found out that my skill level was beginner, and I was surrounded by amazing glassblowers. So I started at the bottom, cleaning the bathrooms and doing the worst jobs. But it's where I needed to be. There's no shortcuts in glassblowing. You have to pay your dues and work really hard. So although I started at the bottom, I soon made my way up to be one of the top gaffers in the shop. This is one of the lighting products we made. It's called Ben. I made about 1 million of these. So after working on my skills in production, I started creating my own sculptures. And I also started working for other artists in Seattle. It's amazing being a female glass artist today. Women have been only blowing glass for the past 40 years. So I'm grateful to the first generation of female glassblowers like Flora Mace, Joey Kirkpatrick, Sonia Bloomdahl, and Ginny Ruffner, who worked so hard to break down the barriers and prove that women could be good and accomplished. Throughout history, men have dominated glassblowing, so breaking down those barriers took a lot of work. I know how intimidating it can be to be the only woman in the shop. In 2008, I was the first and only woman to work in the factory in Brazil. And I remember the first day walking in and seeing all the Brazilian men staring at me, wondering what I was going to do. But by the end of the week, they all respected me and my skill. We became colleagues. I take my visibility as a glassblower quite seriously. I want to inspire women and men to see that you don't have to be a big guy to work in glass. I also feel this tremendous amount of responsibility that I've been given this amazing gift to work with Lino and have the Venetian techniques passed down to me. I'm a link to the history of Venetian glass. Venetian glass has a rich history. In 1291, the city of Venice put the glassblowers on the island of Murano. This move, they put them there because of fear of fire, but this move also created a closed society where the glassblowers were isolated and the secrets and traditions would stay well hidden. Murano glassmakers held a monopoly on quality glass for centuries. Their recipes for color and unique glass formulas were highly sought after. For thousands of years, the Venetians led the world in technical skill and design. To hold on to their monopoly, fear was instilled in the glassmakers not to share the secrets or there'd be serious consequences to be paid. So although Venice achieved great success, the price was a closed society where the closed society was out of step with modern times. In contrast, the Americans did not have a long history of glass blowing. By the late 60s, when artists became interested in working in hot glass, there was no body of knowledge to draw from. There was no old guy down the street with these amazing skills that you could apprentice yourselves with. So these young artists taught themselves how to blow glass through sheer moxie and a hippie spirit of experimentation. They were literally melting beer bottles and trash cans. It was that crude. Soon, high-spirited artists like Dick Marquis, Benjamin Moore, and Dale Chihuly realized the limits of their knowledge and went to Venice. They apprenticed themselves in Murano factories to learn how the techniques in this 1,000-year tradition worked. Here you can see some of the different points of view. One of the great things that came out of these trips to Venice was Dale Chihuly founding the Pilchuck Glass School. Pilchuck became a mecca for international artists to come and share their knowledge. Lino was one of the first and most influential Venetian maestros to come and share and teach at Pilchuck. It took an incredible amount of courage for him to come here, as his English was minimal, and the Venetians highly discouraged him from coming and sharing the long-held secrets. I've been extremely fortunate to be part of Lino's team for the past 16 years. Working for him has been a huge influence on my life, my work, and the scope of my ambitions. One of my favorite techniques to use is called cane working. Cane is the application of color and intricate patterns into the glass. I like to innovate and to bring it to a contemporary level by putting it on unique forms, like this top inspired by a childhood toy. Working in series allows me to perfect and refine my forms. It also gives me the ability to use the surface like a canvas for my design ideas. This is called Vesuvius top. When I create a sculpture, there are so many variables that I have to take into account. Everything has to come together in order for the piece to look effortless. A sense of lightness and movement are important to me. There's a lot of preparation that goes into a piece like this. I spent hours working on the pattern, selecting the cane, and then I go into the hot shop to make the piece, and there's no guarantee that it's all going to come together or even survive. I know. There's much heartache in glass blowing. I'm constantly humbled. But when it comes together, it's magical. I'm often asked where I get my ideas for my art. My inspirations come from many places. I love fashion. I love the relationship between glass and textiles. On the left is a Missoni suit and a top inspired by the pattern. These two pieces are influenced by tartan plaids. The piece on the right is called McLeod tartan, and it's about this big. A lot of my inspiration comes from pop culture. I loved cartoons and comic books. It was a big part of my childhood. And I loved the idea of being a superhero. The piece on the right is called Batman, and on the left is Robin. Each one is based on a color combination from the superhero's costume. Sometimes my inspiration comes from nature. Sometimes it comes from dinner. This piece is called Flight of the Lobster. Teaching is a big part of what I do. I get to share my knowledge and pass on the Venetian techniques. And I also get to work with amazing artists. Here I am working with my friend, Catherine Gray. For class demos, we'd like to collaborate. On this day, I loved her shorts, and she wanted to make mushrooms. So we came up with this giant plaid mushroom. These pieces are called bee butts. I just finished an installation at the Bellevue Art Museum. It's 19 feet long by 12 feet high, and it incorporates 21 bee butts. I call this my 21 butt salute. This is my latest series called Orbs. I'm really pushing the complexity of the cane patterns. I came up with a new technique where I fold the pattern to create an infinite effect. For me, it symbolizes the infinite possibilities that I see in glass. I love blowing glass. Glass is an amazing medium. I'm still in awe of it, what I can do with it, and what it can do. I'm so happy to share my passion for glass with you. Thank you.